digital transformation and solutions expert. A beautiful round of applause as well. We also have the Managing Director of CompuLink, Simon Nyamuda. Can you please join us up? And finally, Neil Padmore from Framport. Let's give him a beautiful round of applause. All right, thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. If we look at most of the conversations that were taking place yesterday, I think it's very important to take note of the fact that we can't really say, we can't really be scared because of technology, the inclusion of technology into corporate, into entrepreneurship, and the business world as well. In other words, I'm simply saying that we cannot deny it because it seems like it's here to stay. So the conversation that we want to have right now is around entrepreneurship, is around careers, is around business, and all the different industries that feed into that, and how we can look at cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, its involvement and what exactly it can do for all the individuals that are participating in that. So the quick question that I'm going to ask this question to everybody. Is AI really transformation, or is just another hype word? I'll start from the gentleman from Samsung, Garai.
Okay, so you're saying is AI really bringing transformation?
Yes.
Okay, for me I believe so. Before joining Samsung, I was with Liquid Intelligent Technologies, and you really see the impact of AI because you then get to come up with solutions and you implement those solutions. So some of those solutions we were doing, for example, with universities, and we're assisting universities with some of their learning platforms and things like that. And sometimes where you don't have a resource, AI can then step in, and that's where you really see the impact. And it's something that we're actually trying to encourage more, especially in the education space, that use of AI will help them because sometimes resources are not always available, and that's one way they can take advantage of that.
All right, thank you so much, Garai. I'll move to Simon.
Thanks so much, Panashe. So AI definitely is a game changer. It's a complete game changer. Because basically we're looking at previous mundane tasks basically being automated. But it's now gone a step further with agentic AI in that these things now think they can actually execute tasks. So if you look at any space or sector before, we're going basically from a physical stance point to a digital stance point. So if we look at mail before, you used to write a letter, but basically email changed the game completely. So AI, where we've come from basically just executing practical prompts, we've gone to a place where AI is actually responding to your emails. AI is actually predicting the yields that you can get and how to mitigate weather changes or patterns. So the impact of artificial intelligence is definitely like electricity. It's going right back to our base needs, such as shelter, and basically it's going to change everything around us. Yesterday we saw, a robot serving coffee. The robot doesn't sleep. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't get paid time off. So the increase even in productivity for our businesses and for our nations, it definitely is going to be a catalyst for a quantum leap for us.
All right, thank you so much, Simon. I'll move to you, Gavin.
Thanks, Panashe. To me, I view it, yes, as transformational, because I've seen in terms of how it is changing industries, from the marketing, the normal traditional marketing that we know all these years, and what AI transform also again in terms of productivity and efficiency. That is bringing in our day-to-day. Look, you know, in businesses you deal with documents, you deal with Excel, you deal with Word, you deal with emails, you also deal with meetings.
Yes.
Coming back, doing recaps of those meetings, etc. is actually saving more time. But what I think is, and what I've seen is, it depends on how you have just taken that AI. If you take it just as a hype, you use it on the surface, you only see it as a hype. But I think it's really changing and transforming our businesses. We should be seeing businesses transforming maybe to 5x to 10x by the right and proper use of AI tools.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Gwadizo.
Thanks, Panashe. I think most of the things that I would like to predict, I think it's transformative. I think for me, I think the biggest issue is how AI is able to enable us to solve complex issues.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a lot of issues that would take years to actually break through into.
Yeah.
And nowadays you'll be able to actually do that in very limited time. So, you know, issues in terms of health, into issues in terms of, you know, dealing with, you know, transportation issues, logistics issues. That has been, you know, a big issue in many countries for a long time. But we see how, you know, AI is enabling us to then be able to solve those issues. So for me, it's the ability to deal with routine work and operational work, whilst it actually leaves time, you know, for building companies, for people to actually, you know, focus their energies on growth and strategic issues that could actually transform and reform, you know, sectors. So for me, it's not a hype. It's definitely, you know, a transformative, you know, tool that can be used to drive growth, like what I said, in terms of businesses, personal education, health, across all industries. I think it's really a tool that can be leveraged on to actually drive productivity and growth.
All right. Thank you so much, Doc. I'm going to shift to you, Neil. What do you think? Is it just theatre, or it's actually transformation?
Tinashe, I have, let me put it to you this way. If the SpaceX IPO was being released this week, 75 billion raised already. SpaceX and Elon Musk are looking at putting data centers in the sky, primarily for AI processing. The robotics industry, talked about by my fellow panelists, is likely to be larger than the automotive industry, significantly in terms of global turnover. I think if we look at where the global trends are going and where global investment is going, robotics certainly threatening our day-to-day physical jobs now. Our AI software platforms, which we're all using, Gemini, Grok, Claude, ChatGPT, already threatening legal profession, medical diagnoses, day-to-day office administration. There is no doubt that it's transformative, and we have yet to see more than the tip of the iceberg.
Thank you so much. Simon, I want to start with you, because from what you've said and your presentation, the presentation that you gave yesterday, what I then understood from the whole scope of the presentation was you were essentially saying that possibly the miracles of yesterday are the technologies of today, with regards to the processes that has really been taking place with technology and everything else. So, like I initially asked this question, what I want to understand from your own point of view, with what you're doing and the work that you're doing with Panashe, what's really separating AI theatre and the transformation that we've really spoken about from a practical perspective?
Okay, so from a practical perspective, I'll touch on two things.
Yes.
And I think the first one was the AI governance around the security of the data. Basically, we discussed that, you know, AI is a double-edged sword. So there's positives and there are negatives. So one of the things is, first and foremostly, before we feed the data into these large language models, is how clean is that data? Because if we put garbage in, we're going to get garbage out.
Yes.
and then basically how secure is that information, how secure is that data, because sometimes we're feeding it with sensitive information concerning even our own intellectual property.
Yeah.
So I would say let's really look at the governance, let's really look at cleansing the data that we're going to put in, because once you get it wrong from the onset, you're going to get wrong biases, you're going to get hits and misses. So I think these are some of the things we'll need to address.
Let me share Wekwete. I understand with Astro Technology Group, there are so many organizations that you're running, and it's looking into these different spaces that has to do with technology and everything that is related to that. I also understand that you recently entered the fintech space. I stand to be corrected. My question again is going to jump into that fintech space, because if we're looking at from a continental perspective, from exactly an investment point of view, you will notice that most investors, they are looking in that space. So for Zimbabwe, just in general, do you think it's a space that is really ripe? And do you think there is a room for artificial intelligence and everything that is related to technology to really take up that space?
I definitely think there's big room.
Yeah.
There is room. I think as long as there is, solutions that are being birthed out of these technologies, I think there is definitely room for investment that can actually be put into Zimbabwe. I think every investor is basically looking at are they going to make money? Is there a scale? And whatever you're doing, is there practicality in actually doing that?
Yeah.
So I think it's the opportunities are definitely there, but I think what's important is to then be able to understand how you are plugging in AI into your solutions in terms of how is it helping you to actually drive productivity, how is it helping you to actually solve real issues. But at the end of the day, is people willing to pay for the solution that you're building out of that. So I want to say AI is just a tool. It's just a tool which is actually helping you to actually build your business in a more efficient manner, but it's not the business. Unless if you're in AI as a business. But if you're running your business, it's just a tool. It's an enabler that is basically enabling you to actually then be able to actually do whatever you're doing. So from a fintech space, I think it basically has enabled us to be able to scale. So from what we're doing is pretty much from a credit, building credit rails infrastructure for the banks. I think AI has been a key driver in terms of enabling us to score and analyze data from previously disadvantaged groups of people in the informal sector that were previously unbanked, and these people, they were not getting credit from the formal financial institutions, but because of AI and the data that is available, we are enabling and aggregating that data to then be able to actually do that. So, but I feel that there is space in the country, but we have to be able to look broader in terms of how can we deploy these solutions, from a Pan-African perspective, from a global perspective. So it gives us that ability not to be, limited to the borders around us, but to actually start looking Africa as a market, the globe as a market. So definitely there is so much interest. I think we're currently working, on something with Visa, for the whole of Africa, but it's a Zimbabwean company. So I think that possibility is there.
I actually have a follow up on that one. How is the market responding to the solutions that you're providing?
The markets, they love the solutions. So for example, we are enabling point of sale credit. So we are enabling someone to be able to buy, anything that they want from any store, from any service of credit. So imagine you are going to a tap shop in your community and you can now actually buy anything that you want to pay for in credit. So for us, it's something that solves a problem that has been there since time memorial, where people in the informal sector, they didn't have that access. But we are enabling, every purchase to have a credit option purchase, which I believe is revolutionary. So there is definitely uptake. Our partners that we've onboarded right now, they are running out of balance sheet support to be able to support the products. So that's how people people always want money. I think.
Yeah, that's true.
They want to borrow if there is that scope. So yes, definitely there is huge potential.
Okay, let me shift the conversation to Kevin. Kevin, like I had reiterated before, every conference is talking about artificial intelligence. Every company organization is talking about artificial intelligence. I think if you were there earlier in the morning when you were asking the question, what's the most interesting thing in one word that you are looking forward to in 2026? I think we had the majority of people saying AI. In Zimbabwe right now, do we have any measurable outcomes or measurable returns that we can point out to and say, this happened because of artificial intelligence, this happened because of artificial intelligence, and exactly this happened because of artificial intelligence?
Thanks, Panashe. I think I can say yes.
Okay.
There's so many organizations. Let's say maybe out of 100 organizations, you can see maybe 20 are doing well when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
The reason being is there's a difference between hyping and acting.
Yeah.
When it comes to AI.
Yeah.
So as an example, each and every organization has got your board, your managers, your supervisors, etc. You might see that maybe from the board level there is a high ambition in terms of pushing AI to the organization.
True.
But below there is also, it's not sinking the operational reality that's actually on the ground.
Yeah.
So what I've seen in Zimbabwe, that's why I was saying maybe 20 out of 100. But how come the 80, how are they falling below? It's just that strategic disconnect between the hypes, the ambitions, and what's on the ground.
Yeah.
Because we cannot talk about AI without dealing with other fundamentals.
Yeah.
So as an example, before we move on to AI, because AI is on a higher level,
Yeah,
the first
true.
thing that we need is digital transformation.
Yeah.
The second thing is our data strategy,
Yeah.
where I think Simon talked about data governance, etc. It's very crucial. Why? Because AI then feeds on the data that we have already done.
Yeah.
So you see maybe, yes, everyone wants to move to AI, but again, coming back to the organization, is still using legacy systems, old systems, or maybe is still manual, a lot of paperwork, etc. So that then now brings that strategic disconnection. But I think from what I've also then seen is organizations start to then understand, because remember this is something that is new, that is still moving in.
Yeah.
So I think with this, especially these discussions, bringing in experts that have worked on AI, it actually enlightens and gives more issue. But I think from what I've seen, for us to be fully successful is to make sure the high ambition of fully utilizing AI and the operational reality have actually been meshed. That's how other organizations are actually making it in the AI world.
Okay, if I am to do a follow-up, let's say of the 80 out of 100 companies that are lagging behind, if we were to create, let's say, maybe a 3-step framework to say step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this, what would you encourage them to do?
Okay, so number 1 on my side is your digital transformation strategy.
Yeah.
To make sure elements that are not digital, they become digital assets, creating digital assets in that whole framework journey.
Okay.
And then from those digital assets now is number 2 step is to move to a data strategy in terms of how you are going to structure the data.
Yeah.
Because remember, whatever is happening on these digital assets, these data sets can be in silos.
Yeah.
So you are having this system operating on its own, pulling in, getting in data. It can be an accounting system, it can be an email system, it can be your your Word documents, your Excel, etc. So number 2, yes, we have done everything. It's now digitally transformed. Now you have the digital assets.
Yeah.
The next thing now is to now we have that data strategy to then arrange that data such that when you now bring in AI,
Yeah.
no more hallucinations. Why? Because the data has been properly framed. So maybe in the 3 steps, digital transformation, number 1, automation of everything that's manual coming in to become digital assets. Then number 2, training in that data. Then your AI takes over as number 3.
Okay, so we're then framing of the data, then AI.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, so let me move to Garai. I understand you work with quite a number of retailers, Samsung, and I'd like to believe that as an organization, you invest a lot into understanding consumer behavior with regards to how people are consuming your product. What do you think is one thing, or what do you think is something that a lot of retailers, or rather consumers, are underestimating, but it's very critical with regards to how they run their business using your product?
Okay. One of the issues that really I'm trying to address is building an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So don't buy, obviously I would want everyone to buy everything Samsung. Buy Samsung tablet, buy Samsung phone, buy Samsung gear and everything. Purely because for us it's then easier if you're a part of an ecosystem. We have what is called smart things. You can manage your data from there. We do have Samsung Knox as well, what was mentioned by Duncan, which secures your information at the chipset. So we're really trying to make everything that we provide secure. One of the things that a lot of people get wrong is when you do buy your device, please do set up your Samsung account. Have that fully filled in, have all your information there. It allows you to secure your devices remotely and for other security functions that you don't get if you only have a Google account set up. So I know a lot of people, when they have their device stolen, the first thing is to say, how can I track it?
Yeah.
People these days, they know that devices can't be reused once it's stolen, so they'll just break it into parts. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is your data. So please do sign up for a Samsung account. If you do have a Samsung device and you don't know how to do it, you can always see me after. That's the first thing I would say, do that. It really helps to manage your data and everything. And then, as I mentioned, use the Samsung ecosystem, where there's the AI functionality, and you really see the benefit of it. It actually manages your usage. So the device actually studies a lot of your usage of it. So it can actually give you information in terms of your sleep habits, which apps you use the most, how you can be more productive in terms of using that device. So that's tying a little bit into it. I could go on and on and on, but that's what I would say is key.
All right, thank you, Gary. Let me shift the conversation to you, Neil. I just want to understand, when you're looking at Africa as a continent just in general, what do you think is the biggest risk for us in terms of adapting to artificial intelligence? Is it adapting to AI too slowly, or adapting to AI without a clear strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question, Panashe. And I think our biggest risk is focusing on legacy educational systems. I've often advocated, and I've advocated over a number of years, that often a university degree at Frampol disqualifies a potential candidate for a job. And I'll let that sink in just for a moment. Because this is what's happening basically, is the world is moving so quickly that the education system is not keeping up. The risk of that, and we have culturally, for 100 years in Africa, put a lot of emphasis on traditional education. Rightfully so, because that has previously worked. However, when you spend X number of years in an institution, you exit that institution, and the world has changed. we haven't done any justice to the output of that educational system.
Yeah.
So the biggest risk that I think we face on our mother continent is not being creative enough, not being curious enough, not being collaborative enough, and not using these digital tools in their infancy on day one, and focusing on traditional learning systems. We are looking in our organization, Frampol, for 16, 17-year-old candidates.
Okay.
Why? Because they haven't had curiosity, creativity beaten out of them by the schooling system. And we don't need to know the answers. What we need to know are the questions to ask.
Interesting. I want to continue the conversation, but it seems like my colleague is like, nah, and time is up. But anyways, if you would summarize what you had already said in one sentence, what would be that one statement? The biggest mistake that we're making?
Is saying no to our children while they're growing up more than saying, well done, keep going, try again.
I'm going to ask the same question to Kevin. In one sentence, what do you think is the biggest mistake that we're making with regards to AI?
Thank you so much. I think in one sentence is we're consuming too much of foreign AI solution. I think we need to bring sovereign AI into our context, Zimbabwean context, into our values, into our culture, and to stand to benefit more from that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Simon, in one statement, what do you think Zimbabwe and Africa as a whole stands to benefit from that adaptation of
Growth. So definitely we're bound to see growth in our GDP. We're bound to see growth even at our organizational levels, and we're bound to see new opportunities. So new jobs are being created. One of the things that's happened in China, a lot of people used to work in mines, going through mining shafts, but now through autonomous dumping trucks, they are now moving towards tech jobs. So we stand to benefit as we remodel. People are not going to lose their jobs, but you're going to be transitioned to another level. So I think this is definitely a time for upskilling. It's a time for planning, both as a nation and as a continent, for us to truly leverage the potential that's there for us through AI.
All right, thank you so much, Simon. Then I'll come to you, Dr. Kwatito. Again, in one statement, 10 years from now, what headline would you like to read about Zimbabwe?
What I would want to then be able to see or read about Zimbabwe is we've managed to have our own, AI data factories that we have. We are actually birthing and creating, our own technologies. Just moving from being consumers to actually builders. I think for me that's what is critical, because I believe now we are more of consuming solutions. We are not really building, any solutions. Everyone is just a consumer. We are just using, but we are not really investing in actually building, solutions in terms of for us to be actually part of the actual AI, revolution. We have to be part of the solution builders. We have to start having, seeing our own startups, on headlines of building their own AI solutions that are being used and consumed by other countries, instead of us just consuming the solutions that Gemini or Grok or anyone is building. We want to be able to build our own Groks and Geminis that are being consumed by the whole by the globe,
All right, thank you so much, Doc. And I'll move to you, Garai. Which industry in Zimbabwe do you think will be the backbone of the economy, possibly the next 10 to 20 years. I don't want you to say AI. Say something else.
Well, I'm in tech, so I've worked, on the telecom side and then on the hardware side. So I've really got to see, both sides of it. I'll sort of come back to what Neil mentioned earlier. I think for us to be able to transform, we have to come back to the education. I'm part of the board of governors at St. George's, and the rector there throws an interesting question. Why is it that education has gone lower in terms of starting, but we have not changed of when it ends? So basically, a 4-year-old does what a 6-year-old used to do. And then we still have an 18-year-old doing the same thing. It hasn't changed. So I would say, if we can finish earlier on the education and then go more towards experiential work, like what Neil was saying. Get them when they're 16. Get them to try something. Yes, you did general education, but get them to try something. Don't, take away that creativity, that, excitement to try something new. For me as Zimbabwe, I think if we start there and we start challenging people into industries a little bit earlier, China has done that well. They actually finish at an earlier age. We probably will start seeing a lot of creativity coming out at an earlier age. And then that's the economy can then tap into that. So a lot of it will then go into manufacturing, go into agriculture, or go into ICT services. So that would be my comment on that.
All right, thank you so much, Garai. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in for this particular part of discussion. You've really been a lovely audience. Please allow me to thank our panelists. Neil Padmore, let's give him a beautiful round of applause. Another beautiful round of applause as well. Beautiful round of applause. Nyamuda, show some love. And lastly, my birthday's Garai, Wekwete. Let's give him a big round. Thank you so much, gents. You can take off the stage.
Yeah.